Welcome. Sandoval Communications presents video streaming of the May 2021 board meeting of Sandoval's HOA. The live stream is simulcast on Sandoval's official communications Facebook page, Sandoval Cape Coral, and streaming on Sandoval Neighbors Synergy. Alternate viewing of this meeting is also available for your convenience 24/7 on our YouTube channel, Sandoval Video Box, and on Sandoval's website, www.livesandoval.com. Consider subscribing to support Sandoval Video Box on YouTube by clicking both the subscribe button and bell to be notified of future meetings and presentations by Sandoval Communications. The meeting will begin shortly. Sandoval Communications thanks you for your support and participation by watching this meeting.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 27th Board of Directors meeting for the Sandoval Community Association. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. And we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call: President Cootie, present. Vice President Bernard. Nope. Secretary Zanfardino. Here. Director Conway.
Present via telephone.
Director Palmer.
Present.
Director Spooner.
Here.
And welcome Casey Pinella, our General Manager, and Steve Harshman, the Vice President of First Services Residential. Welcome, Steve. Thank you. We have established a quorum and proof of service.
Yes, I have affidavit of mailing, and we have a quorum.
Perfect. Do we have anybody signed up for comments for agenda topics?
No resident comments.
Okay. So we'll move on to approval of the past meeting minutes.
We have in each board packet, you received the board meeting minutes from Thursday, April the 29th, 2021. If someone wants to make a motion to approve. I approve.
I second.
Approved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move to the President's report. Good evening, Sandoval residents. May has continued to bring challenges which we as a board anticipated moving forward. We have made a lot of progress in the past 30 days, although we still have a tremendous amount of work ahead of us to accomplish our goals. This evening, for example, Treasurer William Tubb will provide the board and community financials through April this year. It's been a lengthy process through the information we needed to get out of Pope, as well as the process of First Services Residential transferring information into their accounting software. Moving forward, we expect to receive timely financial reports on a monthly basis. Many thanks to Treasurer Tubb for his persistence with FSR to get this information. I am pleased to report that the Clubhouse office has been completely renovated and the management staff has moved back into their offices. The workout room will soon be ready for us to move equipment in, and that should be accomplished within the next couple of weeks. Stevens Construction is working on finishing touches to the movement room, and we expect to have that area and the entire building transferred back to our control by sometime in mid-June. Had it not been for defective flooring that Stevens required our vendor to replace, we would have had the building released to us by the end of this week. The new restrooms are open now, and they are much larger and well-designed. We also have been informed by Stevens that the new building should be ready to release us in July, approximately a month earlier than we had anticipated, so that's great news. We are now totally back to pre-COVID standards in regard to our board meetings, open to all residents to attend and the opportunity to address the board on agenda or open forum topics. Our committees continue to work very hard to provide the board with recommendations for consideration. A special thanks to all the committee members, volunteer leaders, and those who continue to volunteer their time during community events. Of course, we still have residents to attempt to discredit the board regardless of our accomplishments. A community of this size comes with no shortage of challenges, as I'm sure you are aware. The board welcomes criticism when it is constructive and in the best interest of the community as a whole. For those that see opportunities for improvement, I ask you to please volunteer to become part of the solution. In closing, all issues do not move as fast as we want them to move, and it's as frustrating to the board as it is to you, the residents. I believe this board has been extremely transparent to date. On issues such as litigation with CenturyLink and Taylor Morrison, do not confuse lack of public information with lack of effort by the board and committees. There's an extreme amount of work and negotiation being done behind the scenes that require client-attorney privileged communications. You're going to learn a lot more about that later on this evening. This evening, we will be electing a new board member to replace Don Wells, who resigned from all board and committee positions earlier this month. We wish Don well and thank him for his service and valuable contributions over the past several years. Thank you for your time. Treasurer's report.
January 31st, February 8th, March 31st, and April the 30th, 2001 financial highlights. The Finance Committee has been reconstituted for the year 2021 under the Board Liaison Anita Sanfordino and met on May the 20th, 2021. Additional members are needed, and the board member Sanfordino is going to have GM Panella issue a request for additional members from the community. On May the 14th, 2001, board member Melanie Palmer and I met with Casey Panella, our GM, Steve Harshman, VP for FRS, and Mark Landis, head of accounting for FRS, to review our March 2021 draft financials. Unfortunately, we found several more errors in both the labeling of balance sheet accounts and balances brought in from our 2020 audit. We noted these differences and requested the corrections be made prior to issuing the April 2021 financials. From what we can see, items such as grounds for Phase 3 and other HOA-provided streets were missing from the March financials, and items such as management services for FRS were accrued at $5,700 per month, even though our contract calls for these changes to be waived for the first 3 months of 2021. Mark explained that Pope was not doing proper accruals of billings, which do not run from the first day of the month to the last day of the month, an example of which is CenturyLink, which bills from the 16th of one month to the 15th of the next, or other companies who bill in advance of services. Journal entries were made to correct this, and the year-to-date numbers on the P&L were correct. Mark was instructed to contact our auditor, Tony Gregory, CPA, prior to issuing the April financials so that we can be assured First Service Residential is preparing our financial statements in accordance with his audit and his understanding of GAAP. I do not know if that was done. I cannot give you exact balances in either the reserves or the telecommunications surplus fund of January, February, March, or April, as the bank accounts were labeled improperly in the January, February, March, and April financials. This is being corrected. Per the April balance sheet, reserves fell from $2,534,320 to $2,533,980, or $402 during the month, and bulk telecom fell from $1,675,531 to $1,332,899, or $342,632. These changes are reasonable, even though the balances are still in question. An example of this $342,632 change in bulk telecom. During April, FRS booked $33,606 transfer into bulk telecom. Bulk telecom contributions were to end March 31st, but FRS underreported these contributions during January, February, and March 2001 by about $33,000 each month. $11,000 rather than $44,000. Additionally, we paid Stevens Construction $376,090.17 in April, and we paid $153.15 for mobile storage containers. The sum of these contributions and withdrawals matches the $342,637.32 reduction as reported. To date, we have been billed and have paid or are in the process of paying $1,557,071.09 on the Clubhouse expansion project, which puts us at 81.29% complete. Additionally, we're currently processing a reduction of retainage we are holding from the contractor from $130,754 to $65,377. This is appropriate and per the conditions of the contract we signed with the contractor for retainage after the project was over 75% complete. To date, there have been 4 approved change orders totaling $98,019.40, which have been funded from the original budgeted owner contingency of $50,000 and contract contingency of $50,000. As such, we are on schedule and on budget at this time. For the month of April, and I would ask Casey to post the April financials to the website, but we're showing an $87,000 positive income for the month of April, and that brings us to $189,084 positive year to date. Income statement I don't really have any problems with. That seems to be correcting information correctly. It's balance sheet where I have my problems. Anita, have you got anything to add or any questions?
I think to say to put it out there for more people. We need people on this board.
Okay. Any questions for anybody else?
I've got a question. It was my understanding that we funded the expansion. It was fully paid for by March 31st. Is that accurate?
That's part of my problem with the balance sheet. We gave FRS our budget that showed $44,000 per month to be funded into that to end on March 31st. They have been funding $11,000 a month. This is just journal entry numbers. Okay. It's not cash. Because they took the total balance budget and spread it over 12 months, which was inappropriate. Okay. And I've been beating my head against the wall trying to get them to correct that.
But the money is there.
The money's there
to pay entirely the expansion.
It just hasn't been transferred from one account to the other account to reflect.
And then the remainder of the money that was flowing into the CenturyLink account will now go into our operating account and develop our fund balance. Is that accurate?
It won't go into it. It will just stay there.
Okay.
There will no longer be money coming out of it to go into the bulk telecom.
Okay. And that will accumulate for our fund balance.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
We'll move on to our general manager's report.
Okay. Mine's fairly brief because Steve said I could take the night off. He was going to carry the weight. So just a quick update on some maintenance items. We have the slide pool resurfacing that will be taking place June the 2nd. It's going to start. The pool shouldn't be closed. The water will be lowered, so it may affect some of the lap areas. And then we have the paving project that will start the second week of June. And then the Veterans Gate, the main box on the exit side to the right, was replaced. And then the Veterans Pedestrian Gate, as of today, is fully functioning. We have pretty much full staff at this time. We just need one part-time personnel for the pool, but that's not hindering the schedule as of right now. We're excited that we have John, we welcome as the new maintenance technician, who's done already just in a few days quite a bit on my to-do list for the property, so we're excited about that. And pressure washing bids, the board did approve pressure washing proposal throughout the community. We'll send some notifications out before that starts and make sure. We just don't want the paving to interrupt with the pressure washing, so that should take place within the next few weeks as well. We're working on the dog park as far as the holes and the fence line. The fence line, essentially the ground has eroded a bit, and so the fence, we're getting a proposal to cut it down and drop it, or to have fill in those holes. So I know a lot of the residents were concerned about those holes and the dogs escaping. We had some liability risk recommendations that Ms. Conway will cover later on, and I think a lot of the other items Steve will touch on. So is pretty much my little update there.
Thank you.
I do have, before Steve jumps in, I guess I could do it after Steve. I just want to make a note for the official records regarding the audit. Okay, I'll just do real quickly to make a note for the official records that the board did vote to approve the 2020 audit, and we actually uploaded that to livesandoval.com today, so residents can take a look at that. And then also the CPA was voted on contractor for the 2021 audit, if you want to note that for the record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've invited Steve Harshman here as well this evening. He's the Vice President of First Services Residential, and we're going to get Steve's take on the first 3 or 4 months here in Sandoval and where we are and the direction we're headed. Steve?
Sure. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Board of Directors, for giving me this opportunity to sit down and speak with you. So we're now in roughly month 5, going on to month 6, and we've accomplished a lot. We still have some things to do. We still have some work to do, so we'll get there. But I want to highlight some of the areas that we have been able to help support the management team as well as the residents, and what is happening with First Service and the office to help support the residents. And so I made a little name tag here that actually has our customer care number on it. So as I'm talking and you want to write down the customer care number, it is right here. But I want to let you know it's 24/7, 365 a year, and the phone number for that is 866-378-1099. So those are First Service employees ready to assist you whenever you call, day or night, weekend, holiday, does not matter. Someone will be there to answer the phone. And so your community alone, so Sandoval we have received almost 1,200 calls. And I have little visuals here because I know that helps sometimes. So we have almost 1,200 calls, and of those 1,200 calls, 83% of those people that call in are able to get the answer to their question the first time. So you call the hotline or the customer care, you're able to get resolution to your question 83% of the time. Of those remaining times, it does go to the office. It creates a ticket. The office will see, I have an open ticket, and then they have to address it on site because the call center was unable to address it. Of those calls, currently, you only have 5 open. So your on-site team is doing a very good job at maintaining those calls, calling back the residents, leaving voicemails, emailing, whatever the case might be, but they are working towards resolving whatever question that you, the residents, might have. So what do you call the call center about? I mean, you can call about general inquiries about the property. Who's your landscaper? Whatever question that you might come about that you want to find from the office, and it's office hours, you can call. Updates, you can update your information, emails, phone numbers, you can do that as well. Check balances. If you're curious what your balance is on the account, you can do that by calling the number. You don't have to call the office. And report issues. So if you notice a sprinkler head is broken or irrigation or landscaping issue, you can actually report that to the hotline as well. And it also documents requests. So sometimes your mortgage company will request documents, insurance documents for the HOA. So you can request that through the 800 number. So some of the things, that is something that we do primarily for the property team to help eliminate some of the workflow at the office when it comes to calls. Violations is something that your office is very busy doing. So currently, year to date, you have your office, Kelsey, has written 547 violations. And so that's roughly 100 per month. So for those of you that might question what is going on with the violations, Kelsey is busy. 500 violations per month generates questions, follow-ups, re-inspections, and then hearings. So eventually hearings. So it's a lot of work. And so the bulk of that is coming from driveways, 28 of them from driveways. 286 of those are landscaping issues, and that can be a variety of landscaping issues. And then 92 of those are trash. So bulk trash, improper trash put out at different times, that type of thing. So Kelsey's very busy with the violations. Invoices, that's a very big part of your business, your company, paying invoices on time. Your property is processing, as of year to date, 504 invoices. That's a lot. That is roughly 100 per month. This is different than your average paying invoices. So if you're paying an invoice at home, you get the invoice, you write the check, and you pay it. 3 steps. Here, there's at least 8 steps involved in paying an invoice. Your on-site team receives it. It's reviewed. Say, yep, this is ours. We send it to Avid, which is our online AP program. Avid gets it and uploads it into Avid. Our accounting team says, yep, that's the right association. It then goes to the admin or Casey. I don't know exactly the workflow, but they approve it. The on-site team approves it. They put a GL code and says this is the expense. It's good to go. And then it goes to your first board member to approve. And they say, yep, looks good. It goes to your second board approver. They say, yep, looks good. And then it goes to our accounting department for final approval. And then they say, yes, looks good. So a lot of steps to get it done. So 504 invoices, a lot of work that goes into that to make sure that the payments are paid on time. So a lot of work there. Sales and lease ARCs. I'm going to not go into this very much, but you have 1,400 homes. I know that there are a lot of sales, resales, leases, ARC applications, and so I know the office is handling a lot of that. I don't have the data to support it, but I know that's another heavy administrative lift that the office has to do. So the new community website. I know that a lot of you are anxious about it. We're still operating on the old system, but we should have the final version of it ready for board approval next week. And then once we have that, we'll go over it. Board approves it. We'll immediately have training on the website as well as the resident portal. Show you how to access your portal, how to make payments. If you're looking for a document, where you can find that document. And we're going to do that during the day for everybody to see, and we're going to record it. And then we're going to send it out to everybody because not everybody is going to be able to attend at that time. And then when we nail down the orientation package, it's going to be part of the orientation package as well. So hey, you're a new resident. This is some training on how you can use your website. And very similar to the call center, you can make payments, review your ledger, violations. In addition to that, this is a lifestyle version of the website, so you're going to be able to make reservations for your lifestyle events, as well as pay for those events right through the online process. And there will be some other reservation for some of your activities as well. So it's a nice website. It's just about done. And 2 more minutes of your time, if you don't mind. So Bill mentioned it. So we've been working hard trying to update the financials. You have a lot of complexities, especially with the bulk telecom. We're working towards it. We still have a little bit more work to do, but we're getting there. I'm pretty confident when we finalize May's financials, Bill's going to give us 2 thumbs up. He's a tough cookie, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get there. I think we're almost over that hump, just a last couple of revisions that need to be done. And then Casey, she's got a fantastic team there. And we've helped, as far as First Service goes, to help find some of these people. It's been tough. It's tough out there to find good people. And so you have some wonderful people by your pool. Like she said, all the positions have been filled except for that one pool guy or pool girl. And hopefully we'll find that person very soon. We've helped provide training for the office staff on the First Service systems. We look forward to continuing training where we see fit and continuing to make their life a little bit easier by finding efficiencies there. But her team has been very, very involved in First Service also. And so thank you, Casey, for that. Every morning we have a first call at 9:15. Her team is present, participating, and we love to see that. And so there's a lot of collaboration on my team that happens there, and her team is a part of that. In addition, she's attending the monthly CAM meetings. So she helps out, that's about a few hours, and it's a lot of education about First Service and about the industry and best practices. A lot of times we bring in a vendor and so forth. And then we do a quarterly CAM meeting where all the CAMs, the whole team, the whole Southwest Florida team gets involved. And we do awards and recognition, and we get into more of the First Service stuff that happens. So she participates in that. So our goal, First Service, with the office, in collaboration with the board, of course, is to improve the resident experience. And so what am I talking about when I say improve the resident experience? I want people, when they walk into that office, they are greeted, they feel like they are home, and that the office is an extension of their home. And so how we're going to go about doing that is we've been working closely with Casey and some of the board members, and we're working on expectations and making sure that we are in alignment as well as what we want to happen at that property. So it's about setting clear expectations, customer service training with Casey and her staff, whether that's through First Service University or we have someone come on site to help work through some of that. And then best practices compared to other properties. We manage a lot of properties in this area. And so what is Sandoval doing that's better or worse than what we're doing at other properties? And how can we get better? I mean, I'm not sure that there's things that are happening in the office that Casey is doing that we can benefit from and vice versa. And then one of the things that we have coming here very soon, anybody get a donut? You come by and get a donut at our donut drive-thru? It was successful. But we had 300 donuts ready to go. I think half of them were picked up, and then the construction crew enjoyed the other half. But I do want to thank you guys for those of you that participated. It was a fun event. It was a way for us to say thank you and just hand out donuts and have a good time. We had some great conversations. But one of the next things that we're going to do here, starting the first Friday of each month, is we're going to call it a Coffee with Casey. And so it's going to be a virtual event for now until the Clubhouse opens. And it's going to be an opportunity for you as the residents to get to have a conversation with Casey about what is going on. So like Gary mentioned, transparency, come hear it from the source in a casual atmosphere, in a friendly atmosphere. And Casey's going to talk about what's going on at the Clubhouse, what's going on with the pool slide, what's going on with the gate, if it's been broken. So she'll talk about some popular subjects. And then the floor is open for you guys to talk to her about what is going on at the property. So it's a great way to create a casual environment to interact with your property manager and get the news from the source versus some of the other outlets that might be out there. And then finally, I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity. This is great. I love being able to talk to you guys about what's going on, share some of the statistics, because your team does a lot on site. And then we, as First Service, do a lot behind the scenes as well. So it's a great opportunity for me to be able to come here and talk to you guys about that. And so thank you. And I look forward to the Coffee with Casey that's coming up here very soon.
Steve, could you tell us a little bit about the size and scope of your organization?
Yeah, so Southwest Florida, which is the baby, if you will, we currently have 34 properties here, ranging from, actually, you might be my furthest north property, all the way down, but really my territory is from Venice all the way down to Marco Island. And as far as First Service goes, here in South Florida we have a little over 600 associations, whether it be high-rise, condo, HOA, a little over 600, and we are nationwide. We're actually Canadian-based. Our U.S. headquarters is in Dania, but as a company we're in 27 states, 14,000 associates. We're a publicly traded company. We're on the stock market, so if you want to contribute to the stock market, we're on there. But we're a very large company, and because we are publicly traded, we are held to different standards when it comes to financials and stuff like that. So we're a large company, but we like to say we have a local footprint here. My office, where I work out of, is in Estero, not that far away. So we have a couple other properties here in the Cape Coral area, but yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions of Steve or any of the board members? Great. We'll move on to the ad hoc committee reports, starting with Clubhouse improvement. Ron?
Okay. Prior to getting into the report, I'd like to make a motion to add Bill Tubb to the expansion committee. Bill was previously a member of the committee. He was with us from the beginning. He attended mediation in which we reached a settlement to recover some of the $116,000 we lost. He was also involved in the committee meetings for the last 2 years, but he's also continued to help us from an accounting perspective. He stepped down because we did not want a quorum when Melanie agreed to be a part of the expansion committee, but he still continues to help us every day on the financial end. So I'd like to move to add Bill to the expansion committee.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
No? Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Welcome, Bill. Sorry. As for budget, as Gary stated, as Bill stated, we are currently on budget. In fact, we're slightly under budget. There have been some unforeseen additional costs, such as rising costs of building materials, and also due to a delay in getting our permits approved, we had to keep our portable restrooms a bit longer. That cost us $4,500 alone. That said, we are currently under budget still for this project and fully expect to come in at least on budget. As far as schedule, Gary was correct that the existing building should be turned mid to late June. We've already received our certificate of occupancy for that existing building. I do want to note that we have taken on several projects that we will have oversight in working with Casey. We did that in order to save some money. There were a number of issues that came up. For instance, there was moisture coming in through the windows. If we were to use Stevens Construction, we would pay a percentage. So instead, we're doing it ourselves and making sure that it's the most cost-effective way to do it. We expect it to be open the first week of July. Some of the things that we're doing, we're having numerous windows replaced, AC vents cleaned. We're doing some additional painting, decorating. We're going to have to move the equipment. We're having some light fixtures exchanged, a new reception desk, and we're also working to purchase furniture. Just from a reminder that this is still a secure job site. We cannot have any residents entering the workplace without written approval from Stevens Construction foreman. It's very, very important. It's for your safety. Exterior color, we have received a lot of comments on what is going on with the exterior color. The committee has not voted to change the color from yellow to gray. At this point, I'm going to throw over to Melanie, who can discuss the exterior color selection process.
Thanks. So we are working with the architect and interior designer, and the initial color selection of gray, it was proposed because it would give an opportunity for the landscape to highlight the building. So it wouldn't be the focal point, wouldn't be the building. However, we've received numerous concerns about losing the Caribbean vacation vibe of Sandoval, so our interior designer has put forth a few different color options. If we choose to, now the new building isn't painted yet, so that one we can still change the color with. If we choose to repaint the existing building, which is now the gray, it would be what was the total cost on that one?
About $3,700.
About $3,700 to change. So over the weekend, we want to send out a survey to residents, and we'll show a couple of the color choices or leaving it as gray, and we'll see what feedback we get as far as what the new color will be. We do need to move very quickly, so the survey isn't going to have a lot of time to be open. We need to try to stay on track with this to meet our deadlines, but we would like some community input.
I think we did decide that it's going to be your clubhouse, and we want the input from the residents to choose that color. So whatever color comes out as a result of that survey, that's the color we'll go with. So we encourage everyone to respond to that survey as quickly as possible, because we have to have an answer back to Stevens by Tuesday morning of next week.
And the color selections were vetted through our designer to be consistent with our Sandoval theme. Our Sandoval theme is stated in our ARC design portion of our rules, so everybody can review that, but the two options will be consistent. And again, we encourage participation because frankly, as Gary said, it's your clubhouse. I just want to go over, we're getting very close to completion of this project, and I just wanted to take a couple minutes to let you know what you're getting. The building is a first-rate commercial building. There were no corners cut to keep this project under budget. And I just wanted to go over a couple items with you. We've worked very well with Stevens Construction. We're very pleased with how they've handled this project. For example, the roof system. It's a completely sealed roof system with spray insulation covering the entire attic along with a thermal barrier for efficiency. The windows are impact glass. The slab is 1 foot thick with 5-inch rebar on center and 2 layers of rebar from the ground up. That is that was due to anchor the building, and it's a significant upgrade. The building has a 16-inch by 3/4 inch thick steel I-beam that extends 40 feet. All shutters are upgraded heavy gauge aluminum. We have upgraded the audio visual, including a projector screen. All windows have an upgraded watertight wrapping to avoid the issues we encountered with mold on the existing building. The arches on the exterior are built from poured concrete. Cement pavers will be cemented in. We've used quartz counters and sills that are 1.25 inches thick. The ceiling on the lanai, for an example, is Dura rock, then edged with wire and lath, and then finally stuccoed. We added sound insulation to the walls. We have paid particular attention to the details of the existing building. For example, we've had the pineapple. If you look at the existing clubhouse, if you look on the entryway, the pineapple on the left is taken off because we want an exact mold of that. So when you look at the older building and the new building, the continuity is there, so they're consistent. And that does impact the color choice. We are not moving away from the island theme, the Caribbean theme. The pineapple will be there. The pineapples will be there on the new building.
People love those pineapples.
They do. We've also encountered numerous issues with the existing clubhouse, and this really goes as a result of lack of maintenance over the years. We had direct vents in the attic that was pumping air conditioning outside. We had broken AC lines and broken detectors. We had water protrusion on many windows, and that impacted the sheetrock inside the building. We had hanging wires. We also had plumbing and wires just a few inches underneath the soil, just to name a few things that we've had to correct. Some things you will see. You will see significant under-truss outdoor space that overlooks the playground and the pool. We specifically selected our architect, Tyler, in part because of his experience with designing outdoor living space. It will be a great way for people to enjoy the clubhouse and enjoy the pool, but actually be undercover, enjoy coffee in the morning, and a snack later in the day. There will be a service window from the kitchen to the outdoor lanai area. We have a large conference room now in the existing clubhouse that can be used for committee meetings and all sorts of private meetings. We will have a large dedicated room for aerobics. We also have a very expensive partition system that allows for the creation of 3 rooms in the new clubhouse for ongoing activities. Or we can take down the partitions and have 1 large room for gatherings. That's just to name a few. And that is the update for the expansion report. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ron. If you'd like to just move on to the Taylor Morrison, I guess your update, you're on a roll.
This one's shorter. I believe I mentioned at the last board meeting, Pope Properties, as you know, we sued Pope Properties in this litigation, and Pope Properties filed a 37-page motion to dismiss our complaint. Our counsel, Jonathan Huffman, argued that motion in front of Judge Kyle, and Pope's motion was completely denied entirely. The result is Pope must now answer our complaint. Also noted in last month's report, we have multiple requests for production, interrogatories, requests for admissions, and multiple subpoenas pending for Taylor Morrison. They've responded to the RFPs and essentially agreed to produce over 4,000 documents. Mediation will be July 23rd, 26th, or 29th. There'll be at least 3 board members that will be attending that mediation. We will have a lakes consultant evaluating Phase 3 lakes as part of the transition, and lake bank erosion for Phase 1 and 2 on June 3rd. Jim Swigert has graciously volunteered to assist us, and will be walking around with our consultants that day. So please be nice to them if you see them in your yard. I would also like to move to add 2 committee members to the Taylor Morrison group to replace Al Roper and Don Wells. I thank them both. I would like to move to add Craig Schneider and Bill Dunker to the Taylor Morrison Litigation Committee. Both have graciously agreed to volunteer their time and help our community. So at this time, I'd like to move to add Craig Schneider and Bill Dunker to the TM Litigation Committee.
Motion, second?
Kathy on the phone.
Any comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And that is the report.
Thank you, Ron. We'll give you a breakdown. We'll move on to risk management. Kathy?
All right, good evening, everybody. Last month, the Risk Management Committee asked for a 30-day follow-up report on the recently conducted periodic inspection of the community for safety and hazard concerns. The general manager provided both Ron and myself as board liaisons with a progress report to date, recognizing now the onboarding of the full-time maintenance tech and also the actions which will be conducted under the paving projects as well as the slide repairs that are being made. So I've shared that information with the committee. So I want to thank both the general manager for the follow-up and the addition of the maintenance tech. I think we'll get some of these issues resolved very quickly. That's it. Ron, unless you have something additional to add.
I don't. Thank you, Kathy.
All right, thank you.
Steve? Steve Kasins will be giving the Cable Internet Committee report as committee chair.
Thanks, everybody. The ad hoc committee is pleased to impart that the responses to the RFP due May 25th, last Tuesday, have been received. All but one bidder has submitted a proposal to date. There are some bits and pieces still coming in via email, but I think by the end of this week we should have full packages from everyone that was solicited. The committee will begin examining. I have to use my radio voice. Those starting tomorrow at 4:00. As Casey knows, the submittals weighed about 60 pounds. So we, in all kidding aside, we structured the RFP so that there are cost sheets, and I'm hoping that the evaluations submitted by the vendors will not be too onerous. However, I'd like to make a note that the RFP called for 2 time frames. One was 3 months, one was 8 months. 3 months if the particular vendor was able to use the existing fiber infrastructure to support their distribution. 8 months if they had to pull new fiber or develop a new distribution system. Now, that's once we finally make a decision through the board and get their model contracts, review those contracts with legal, and sign. The 3 month and the 8 month clocks don't start until after we get that signature. So I know a lot of folks have thought that, we get the proposals Tuesday and we can throw a switch by next Tuesday. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. Right now, Prism TV services are still slated to end March 31st. Please understand that an alternative method of TV service will be needed until the process has completed and equipment from the new vendor or vendors can get installed. Again, that process, even if we were to start it tomorrow morning with 1,425 homes, is going to take a little while. I will make one more comment, and that is that a number of individuals have told me that they've called and arranged for service with Comcast, and that CenturyLink has inadvertently removed their service. And if that occurs, please call the office and let them know so that they can get in touch with me, and then we can in turn get in touch with the folks over at CenturyLink to make sure that these people don't suffer, as this one individual did, 1 week's worth of endless telephone trees and trying to figure out why her service was disconnected. Also, I will caution that the sales and marketing and help desks at these various vendors don't often communicate well with their engineering and sales folks. And so you may be getting answers from them, and there's not much I can do to filter that. But again, contact Casey and her team. But that they don't really understand what the ramifications are of our CenturyLink system and Prism TV going away. So I apologize in advance if they give you some bad information about equipment replacement or conversion, any of those issues. But I would ask that you stay tuned to this channel, and we'll try to keep you up to date as much as possible. Now, back to the regularly scheduled program.
Steve.
Any questions? Oh, thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
The Cable Contract Committee, Ron?
Before I go into the report, there are 2 members I'd like to move to add to the committee. I'd like to move to add Bill Dunker to the CenturyLink negotiation team. Bill has over 40 years' experience as an attorney working specifically in contract law. He evaluates and writes contracts. That's what he does. Not only has he helped tremendously in the evaluation of the current contract, he will assist us in making sure that current issues with the Century contract are not repeated. Bill has graciously agreed to submit his name to the board to be on the committee. So at this point, I'd move to add Bill Dunker to the CenturyLink negotiation committee.
A second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Motion carries.
I'd also like to move to add Jonathan Huffman for Morgan & Morgan. Jonathan is a Florida licensed attorney with extensive history in litigation and litigating specifically similar cases. He is uniquely able to evaluate our options from a litigation standpoint and tell us exactly what our bargaining position is. He's able to tell us whether this case has the potential to be taken up on contingency and ensure that no stone is left unturned with regards to our options. Jonathan has graciously agreed to submit his name to the board to be on this committee. So at this point, I'd like to move to add Jonathan Huffman to our CenturyLink negotiation committee.
We have a second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Next, there's a lot of information and misinformation floating around about these potential negotiations. I want to reiterate that if you do not hear it specifically from this board, please do not believe it. We are in active negotiations. It is our charge to ensure that this community has the best possible options available. We have assembled a strong legal team. Our team has over 100 years collective legal experience. We have 3 licensed Florida attorneys. We have our HOA counsel has completed negotiations for numerous clients in this exact situation. We benefit greatly from that experience, and we are able to assess our results accordingly. To date, our committee has thoroughly reviewed the CenturyLink contract, and we have evaluated the potential breach of contract and been presented some options for resolution. To date, we have received multiple offers of resolution that we felt were unsatisfactory. That said, I am pleased to report that just yesterday we received a new offer from CenturyLink that is much more promising. In addition, we have received an offer from another provider that includes a buyout from the CenturyLink contract that we are evaluating. It is my understanding that from the Cable Committee, and Steve just mentioned, that their RFP responses were received yesterday. The next step in this process is for both committees to meet and discuss the best options going forward. We will present our results to them, and they will present their results to us. At that point, I'm hopeful there will be a special board meeting in the near future to educate residents, allow them to ask questions, and then this board can take a vote, a very public, transparent process. In the meantime, CenturyLink has agreed to extend cable until June 30th. We only learned this afternoon. Anyone claiming knowledge of this information prior to this board meeting is simply not accurate. Again, we learned about it this afternoon. So going forward, we will have all the necessary information to make an informed decision and an appropriate amount of time to make that decision. There will be a lot of work in a short amount of time, and we'll be leaning on many residents to process this information. I understand many residents are wanting information. So in summary, the RFPs came in yesterday and are confidential. We do not want any providers to have an advantage over any other providers. The CEO negotiation is exactly that, a negotiation. Again, we did not get our best offer until yesterday. We are simply not willing to sacrifice our negotiation position to prematurely spread confidential information. Both committees will be meeting and evaluating offers. At that point, we will be convening a special meeting in the near future. I can promise this community there will be significant time for dialogue in the future. We can have very candid discussions about the current contract, the offers, and the decision-making process. I just stress that this is an intricate process. We're trying to make it very transparent. We've involved a whole other committee to do an entire RFP process, and we're actively negotiating with 2 different providers from a legal standpoint to make sure this community has the best representation. So hopefully we will come to a decision in the very near future, and I appreciate your patience.
Thank you. Envera. Envera Ad Hoc Committee will be presented by Rick Devine, who's the committee chair.
Okay. Gary Cootie's our board liaison. I'm the chair. I got Todd Reinhardt here, Morrison, David Ott on the committee. We've met 3 times this month. Both times I've got the account manager there, and I've also got the service manager there. We now have the drawings from Envera, so we know, trying to still figure out what has been put in, removed, switched around. It's a myriad of stuff that we're slowly finding out. We were with Jason this morning for 2.5 hours. We got to 2 gates. So that gives you an idea of what we're finding. Coming up Thursday, they are going to be here, Trafalgar Gate. You got a decal problem, you be out there, it's going to get handled. I'll be standing right there. There's a little confusion on what was sent out today. I don't know if you proofread that, but we'll. It said credentials. People are confused.
That's what Envera used for their terminology, so we just utilize that same term.
It is on the decals. Okay. Now, we got some numbers on them, so that somebody has an idea, because I don't think anybody in here understands how many cars go through this thing. Just in the visitors gate alone, February, 17,000 vehicles. March, 19,000. April, 17,500. Now, if you were to add residents, you can probably double this thing of what's going through there a day. Things are going to break. Things are going to get hit. You've taken a community that had no gates, and you threw a high-speed gate in front of them. Those entry gates are coming down in 1.3 seconds. That's exactly the way previous boards designed it. That's what they're set at. Can we slow them down? Yes. But we can also do a lot of other things. We found a lot of stuff that there's redundant things in there that are put in the wrong spot, not working, a lot of errors. I've been going around trying to keep ahead of these gates. I'll give you what I had from Monday morning, and there's been other things. And this is stuff that I can lay my hands on, maybe through an Envera report or just going down there. I'm not in the film stuff. That's the office. Stay out of that. That's your deal. Veterans Gates, 3 mechanicals, 4 strikes, 1 I didn't. Who knows? Trafalgar, 4 mechanical, 2 strikes. Pine Island, 5 mechanical, 1 strike, 1 unknown. Grand total, 7 strikes, 12 mechanical, 2 unknown. Now, I know there's other people out there. We had a guy that smacked the gate. He went out there and he put it back together himself. I know there's residents been out there doing it. So the numbers, I'm sure, might be a little higher, but that might give you an idea. Okay. Like I said, we also have another issue is we have a multitude of contractors involved in this. Envera is in charge of entry. only on Veterans and on Trafalgar. Then you have Pine Island, that's all on its own. That's done by another contractor. The exit gates are done by that contractor. Now, I don't know on God's green earth who came up with this idea, but it's ridiculous. Plus, you have you got two other people in charge of the internet that I ain't sure who the hell does that yet. I mean, it's just it's like a comedy of errors that I keep finding. And we only been doing this for 30 days. So you also have two different arms on there. You got a breakaway arm. How that works is the arm fits in here like this. When you hit it, it goes up and smashes the wall. Now, when it does that, the lights across the bottom and those zip ties that people hate and stuff hanging down, when it hits that, it's coming off. It's guaranteed it's going to come off. The other ones are around steel. They're held on by a bolt and a goofy nut designed to strip. It's a crazy idea, but I talked to Jordan today. He does have a different style, but you're going to have to change the holders. But, once those things get hit, the the lights go with it. It's a guarantee. So that'll give you an idea of stuff that we've seen. We're still digging. All I can say is pretty much this thing was put together haphazardly in the first place. I guess to keep the price down. It's not as easy. We can't put up a camera because the infrastructure is not there. It's not there. Now you're talking. Now you're up $10,000. Why it wasn't, I don't have that. I have no idea. It's a one-size-fits-all community. It doesn't matter if you got 100,000 cars going through there or 1,000 cars. That's pretty much the way this Envera set this up. I don't know who was all involved in it, but that's pretty much where we're at. We'll be coming back next month with stuff that it'll be in your best interest to do. Got to give us a little more time. I got Jason, and for those that I know there's people out there working, I ain't forgot about you. I'm going to twist some arms to get Envera down there to put on the stickers. We know that they're an issue. Anybody got any questions? Good? Thanks.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you, Rick.
Yep.
Thank you for peeling all that back. It's been a nightmare.
We can always count on Rick to tell it like it is.
Right.
No sugarcoating.
By the way, the pedestrian gate, it locks. So it's good to go.
Oh, good.
So everybody that has kids going to school tomorrow, make sure they got their car and they're going to be able to get in and out. It does lock. I was there right before I came down.
Thanks for waiting 7 minutes before you said hell.
What's that?
Thanks for waiting 7 minutes before you said hell. I was very impressed.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Well, he fulfilled a promise he made to me earlier today, and I do appreciate that. Thank you. We'll move on to the Traffic Control Ad Hoc Committee, and that committee is chaired by Linda Mooney, who is out of state due to a death in the family. And joined her on that committee are Eric Blythe and Ed Coronado. And we met earlier this month, and we talked about the mission. The mission is to what efforts can we make to better control speeding, reckless operation, and other vehicle problems that we have in the community from time to time. So they have already are off and running. One of the members is already talking with other gated communities on things that they're doing. They're researching mechanical devices, things that we can radar readers, God forbid I would say speed bumps, but all those things they're looking at to see the effectiveness, what that effectiveness might be. And it'll take them a couple months to get all this information together, but once they do, they're going to come back with recommendations on that. On a side note, I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to have a cup of coffee with Chief Sizemore earlier this week. First time I met him, he's a great young man. And obviously, if you don't know, he's a resident of the community. His wife and family live here, so he's invested in this community. We had a very complete and candid conversation about vandalism, speeding, and he provided me with some very good input. A couple of things that we talked about that people have brought up is, why doesn't CCPD come in and run radar? Well, they can't and they won't, because by law they can't. The streets are owned by Sandoval. He said we could do it, but we'd have to get the commission, the state of Florida Department of Transportation to a study that would cost thousands of dollars, and then conform everything that we have in the community to their standards, and they would set the speed limits, crosswalks, etc. And then that only means that CCPD could come in, doesn't mean they will. That they would come in as any other patrol as time permitted. The same thing with the Lee County Sheriff's Department. You can enter into agreements, but none of this is free. So, as they say, there's no free lunch. So we have to look at all options, and I'm pretty confident in this committee. Linda, like Rick, has taken ownership of her committee, and I expect to hear great things from them in the future. And I think that I'm starting to build a relationship with the chief. He's going to meet with the traffic control committee here in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to take his input as very valuable as well. So thanks to the chief for his participation. Questions? Okay, we'll move on to old business, street paving.
The street paving project, we'll have to send, we have the revised map that just came in yesterday, but it'll start the second week of June. We'll get a lot of communication out to the residents. There will be some parking restrictions, and so keep an eye out for a lot of communication to come your way.
Casey, there will be an additional small area in Somerville that will be added.
That was the most recent. Oh, and
No,
on top of
that, there's one more area that recently developed.
Okay, sorry, okay. That was what was left off, so there's a new area. Okay. And that's all, and then I have, that's all I have for the paving update, and then I have for formality, the bar, budget authorization request attached, that's in your board packets. If someone wants to make a motion. This was the pool slide that the board had discussed and approved, and so to be transparent, the board has requested a budget authorization request and the reserves in the amount of $16,500, and that will be all the labor and materials to refinish the interior of the water slide, and as well as painting the exterior of the slide with a marine grade paint or coating.
Any discussion?
I would like to note that under our reserves, we have allotted for an entire new slide to be installed in 2024. I think our reserves are at near $98,000. With these improvements to the slide, that replacement will not be necessary. We have added a maintenance contract also to make sure the slide is maintained and will not go into future disrepair. So that puts us in a much better position long-term with our reserves also.
Does someone have a
Accept
motion?
a motion to authorize the bar approval for to release the
I
funds.
second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Did you want to talk about the covenants?
Yeah, so we have, the covenants committee met, and we don't have any fines at this time. There will be additional fines for the next month, but there weren't any voted on this past meeting. With that, the covenants committee would like the board to revisit the current policy in place which is the first notice. There are some friendly reminders that get sent out on items that are not hazardous or a big eyesore, but for the majority, a first notice is 30 days, and then the second notice is 14 days. And this came from, it was presented to the committee by one of the members that they wanted the board to consider changing the policy to first notice friendly reminder 10 days, then a second notice 14-day violation letter to care, and then finally a third notice for a 14-day hearing. So this would create an additional workload for the compliance department, just management's feedback, and the covenants committee didn't one way or the other, they just asked that the board would, this would be presented to the board.
Does this speed up the process that we currently have?
No, you're still looking at extra inspections, so you have to inspect each time before the next notice. And, well, let me, hold on before I say that. So this is a friendly reminder 10 days, then the second notice 14, so it's 24, 34, 38, and then this would be 44 days for this one. So it doesn't, it's the inspection process in between each notice that would slow down.
Is it fair to say, too, we're sending out a third letter instead of 2 letters?
Right.
I also note, too, that back in January, we already extended the cure period, I believe, from 14 days to 30 days. So when you get your first letter putting you on notice that, hey, there's an issue here, normally you had 14 days. I believe it was 14 days to respond to that notice. I did meet with some members of the Covenants Committee back in January, and we agreed to extend that to 30 days because really that's what we want. We want compliance. We don't want to be sending fines out. We don't want to have to put residents in a position where they're being fined and have to go to this hearing. And that was the reason, 30 days. So it is an extensive process already. I don't understand what the third letter does, frankly. It seems to cost us more money. It's more taxing. We have one compliance person that's responsible for 1,425 homes. To me, it just seems making a difficult process more difficult. And I think we've already expanded it quite significantly. That's my 2 cents on it.
Personally, I'd like to see the process speed up, not slow down. I think it takes too long now as we move through the process. And I understand, Kelsey's one person, but we get a lot of disgruntled residents because it seems to be taking forever.
Agreed.
To when they have a complaint, to have a situation resolved. And I think maybe we need to study as a board and get recommendations from the committee on how we can improve on this process to make it quicker.
Well, this extends the process. We've already extended the duration of the process, doubled it, in fact. Mm-hmm. And this extends it more because these are the minimum time notices. That doesn't mean that our compliance person will be able to get to it on the 14th day. It may be the 21st day, but this is the minimum amount of time that frankly, that she's allowed to, that she has to comply with. So again, this will make the process even longer than what it currently is.
From the inspection point of view, obviously, if it was just send letters, it would be quick. But you have to schedule, and then you have to fall within a certain amount of days to hit that hearing, or then the person actually is not getting in front of the committee, potentially fined for another 30 days if you miss that. So we have a system right now, and we just got that system. 30 days is a lengthy period of time. Maybe if that's something in the future you want to take a look at after you review, something like that, but to add an additional 2 steps with the inspection and the letter, I would say that would hold things up a bit.
And I'd also like to hear, or you can communicate on her behalf, how Kelsey is doing with these 30 days, if she feels it's effective. Because at the end of the day, the boots on the ground person is really going to be able to convey how successful the policy is and give some recommendations. And frankly, I'd like to hear her input on it too.
So she did say, I spoke with her at least, that this would definitely take more time. That was where I got my information from her. but then we'll follow up with that. See
What was the reason why the Covenants Committee was requesting this?
I'm not sure. It just was sent over to consider. I'm not sure if maybe they thought that that would speed it up because you have a 10-day, then a 14-day.
So people might start fixing things within the 10 days.
I don't know if they were confused. I think maybe they thought we were still doing the 10-day. It used to be you have 10 days and then you have a 14-day hearing when I first started. So it was 10 days and then 14 days for the hearing if we inspect. Then the board changed it to the 30 days, but we weren't doing the 10, you don't get 10 days plus another 30 days.
Right.
So possibly someone on the committee, I wasn't there when this was brought up, but possibly they thought that there was still the 10, 30, and 14 is the only thing that I could think of.
And I misspoke. We changed it. It wasn't the 14-day notice. We extended the 10-day notice to 30 days.
Right.
So we already added 20 days for a compliance period to absolutely ensure there is no overlap in letters and pleading with people to comply. And frankly, I don't know what a third letter is going to do. They've already had this time and they've already received 2 letters.
Right.
I have a question for Steve. Based on your experience, Steve, with other communities similar in size, is one compliance officer enough for this community?
Yeah, typically a full-time compliance officer should be enough for this size of community.
Okay.
Even if compliance wasn't done for the last 4 years.
Well, it's a heavy lift in the beginning for sure, but when everything is running properly, one compliance person should be able to manage this property.
Okay,
Gary, can I just say something?
please.
She was sorry.
So the committee, they wanted the board to reconsider the timeline, and that they thought that there was a lengthy wait time on getting corrective action. Basically, the first notice, 30 days, and then the 14-day notice is a 44-day window. And as you suggested, the committee is looking to speed up that process, which would be the 10-day, the 14-day, and then the 14-day violation letter, and then the 14-day notice of hearing if action was not taken, which is a 38-day window. And that's what they were asking. That was the recommendation to the board, to reconsider and possibly go to the 2-letter action, which is what Ron is saying would be labor intensive for the compliance person, as Casey has indicated.
And I'm open to reducing the cure period. I'm just not very open to adding an additional layer in the process in the form of a letter and an additional inspection. But it sounds like what you're trying to achieve is to shorten the duration of the review process. And if we're going to do that, we should be evaluating that 30-day period when we moved it up from 10 to 30 days. And we could achieve that.
Mm-hmm. Are all violations equal? Does every violation get 30 days, or are there certain ones that, if it's something that takes longer because you have to schedule somebody to come out to, like a roof cleaning or something like that?
All of them, the only thing, if it's a liability, then it's the immediate hearing notice, and then code of conduct, the same hearing notice, and then everything else is getting a 30 days notice. And then email is typically how we're sending out now that First Service Residential is involved, and then the 14-day notice goes out certified. If it is something that's liability or something, we may take the extra step to document even further.
Would bulk items be an automatic fine left out on the curb due to liability issues?
Those immediately go to the hearing, up to the Covenants Committee to vote, and then the board to vote. And they are presented with the bulk item was out 1 day versus it got inspected in 5 days, and then it gets inspected again right before the hearing. So that's our process. So they know if it was out the whole entire time, or if it was 2 days or 3 days.
And things like gate strikes, automatic, conduct
Hearing
policy,
straight
automatic.
to the, right. Those don't get 30 days notice. If it's a violation that's taken place, or if it's a liability, then it's the hearing, and then the Covenants Committee, and then the board.
And it was extended to the 30 days. Was that because of mailing time? People were away, or
I think it was a heightened. I think, from my understanding, that it was a lot of upset residents because of the lapse of, and then so the board was like, let's give people time.
A little bit of time.
And I was involved in that process. I think people are having issues because during COVID, the mail was delayed.
Oh, that's right.
And there was some residents who felt that there was some overlap between the first and second letter, and they weren't getting appropriate cure periods. Mm-hmm. So due to extenuating circumstances, again, to do everything we can to help residents to comply, because essentially, you get a letter, most residents want to comply, to give them an honest, realistic chance to comply. I don't know if that's still an issue in terms of the mail, but I can tell you that was the impetus behind the extending it.
Email notifications have sort of rectified that concern. And then secondly, residents are calling the office and saying that they've scheduled the pressure washing, or they scheduled the roof or the driveway, action that's required. It might not be completed in the 14-day period, but it's on schedule to be done in the near future. And then Kelsey would follow up to ensure that it was corrected.
What's the board's pleasure?
My position is I don't agree with the recommendation, but I would be amenable to shortening the 30 days to possibly 20 days. I'd still double the amount of time cure period. But I certainly would want Kelsey's input.
Kathy, can we take this back to the committee to take a look at this again and rework it?
Okay.
The grass, some of the grass is looking horrible. I know we haven't had any rain, but then they should put a little bit more of another watering schedule. Because the grass behind our house is horrible. And they're talking about fires and everything. That could just ignite like that.
Are you referring to residential or commercial, ma'am? Or like the community property or
Community, yeah.
community-wide?
And some of it is not the community itself. It's around the community.
Agree, I've noticed that also.
So, I know we're not at the open forum, but there are water restrictions right now, and we're potentially going to move to even more water restrictions due to the drought. So we're really hoping that the rainy season kicks in, which should be any day now, but it's due to lack of water and the drought, and we can't run the irrigation longer than what the city allows. So if the city allows only X amount of water to be watered while supervised by an irrigation technician that has to be on site, we can't water more than the city allows right now, and it is really, really dry season.
Well, I think one of the things that the resident was alluding to, there are some hot spots that are brown areas. Thinking outside the box, can't we hire someone to specifically target those areas to make sure they're getting enough water, whether it's adjusting the sprinklers or bringing in a small truck to make sure those get sufficient water? Because if it's a dry spot, it could be a hazard, frankly.
Jim?
Why don't the city, why don't you follow the city on your time limit? They're code enforcement. They do what the state tells them what to do. I know you can do what you want, but I would follow the rules the city does on violations. Number two, the watering. You can water with your hose, but you can't water outside of that time, except when they are testing the system, they can do it for 10 minutes.
So that would mean that if we had a mobile vehicle to water the hot spots, that is a way to make sure that those areas are not dying, being maintained temporarily until we get to the water season.
The water that waters the grass is like irrigation water. It's not your house water that you would take and use.
Sure, correct.
We'll look into it with Crawford, the landscape for the common areas. I know that Down to Earth is trying to work as hard as possible as well, but we'll look into the cost. I think that we would have to obviously find out how much it would cost and then present it to the board, and the board could make that decision.
Because I live right, the end of the bushes and it's the common areas, that's green. But my area that goes up to that is not. It doesn't make any sense. Why that would be green and they wouldn't take care of my part that goes to it.
Sure.
If you wouldn't mind sending it, and maybe sending Casey an email, we can specifically have that looked at in the near future to make sure that it's getting the attention.
You have Down to Earth that services your landscape. If you could send me an email, or anyone in the staff that you have the email to,
Or just give us your address before we leave.
and we'll have them take a look.
So I'll give you my address. I don't.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, great.
Thank you, we appreciate your comments. Ms. Kathy, are you on the line? I think we've lost Kathy. No one? She's online?
No, I'm here. I'm on the
Okay.
line.
Kathy, could you take this proposed amendment back to the committee and have them rework it based on the comments you've heard here tonight?
Yeah. And we'll follow up with Kelsey too about the 20-day window that Ron suggested.
Okay.
New business, finance chair.
Yeah.
Do that now?
I'm going to nominate him for
Pardon me?
nomination for the board.
Okay, we do the
First one?
do that now.
Okay. I want to nominate John to be our chairperson for the Finance Committee. Okay, John? You seem to do an awful lot.
As long as Bill's around.
You looked as happy as Bill.
Yeah.
As long as he's around, I'm happy, but I do want to add some more. One of the guys I want to add to the committee, you put on 2 committees today.
You stole him.
My neighbor down the street, I tried to get him, and you had him right.
What's one more?
Go easy on my guys.
Do you think we can get Larry to come back? That's not last.
So we have a nomination for John to be nominated as Finance Committee Chair,
I second it.
seconded by Ron. Any discussion?
I've just said, John's been helping us for a real long
Yes.
time. He's a dedicated volunteer, very capable, very great to work with, and I'm in all support.
John's another one I had an opportunity to sit down and have a cup of coffee with, and learned a lot about him in a short period of time, and his quality appointment. Thank you,
Yeah.
Anita. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to the towing.
So we have, do you want to? Yeah,
Oh, we have
could-
the 11th, let's do, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay,
I was
that's okay.
skipping ahead. We're going to now, as I mentioned earlier in my report, we are going to vote for a new board member. We've had 2 residents that expressed interest in a position. And what I'd like to do, they're both here, I'd like to bring them up in alphabetical order and spend a couple minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you feel that you'd be a great board member and what you would add to the board. So John, we'll start with you.
I wanted Marilyn to go first.
It's purely alphabetical, Mary.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay, thanks. Well, first of all, thank you, board, for being much more transparent than we were before.
Thank you.
It's, the communication, I think, has been excellent with the with everybody. It got to help me to like the place. It's kind of hard to come up and brag about yourself, but so I have to tell you, kind of why me, and let you know a little bit about who I am and where I came from. Lynn and I have lived in Japan, Memphis, Chicago, Milwaukee, Hartford, Atlanta, Dallas, San Jose, Little Rock, with brief stays in St. Louis and Tulsa. Now Cape Coral for 20 years. We moved to Waterfront Home in 2000, and liked it until we found out about Sandoval after I sold a couple of houses in here, and I really started liking it. So also got a 3-car garage this way. Sandoval is appealing for many reasons. Beautiful landscaping, great walks, walking by the lakes, a mix of friendly neighbors of all ages. We especially like a neighborhood with the joy of children laughing and playing. The amenities and social activities were a great appeal to us, as we like those with friendly people. That's why we play bridge when we have a clubhouse to play in. Now for me, after mustering out of the Army after 2 years in Japan in the Army Security Agency, I began my industry career with IBM in Memphis. I was there for 21 years in multiple cities. Over the years, I've managed teams covering accounts like Illinois Bell Laboratories, Milwaukee County, Aetna Life and Casualty. With my last assignment as manager of large account marketing, with that experience, I was recruited to manage the Southwest region of Tandem Computers. After our 7-state region exceeded 3 years' objectives in 2 years, Jimmy Trybig, the company's president, asked me to take over the services division, an $80 million division with 1,600 employees worldwide, which I managed for 6 years. My HOA experience, we lived in an HOA community when the developer was dramatically lowering his standards of architectural control, and we didn't know what to do. So we looked at our bylaws. We had to change them. I organized a committee to change the bylaws. We met with him, kicked him out, overrode it, and put in a new homeowner control board, and I was their president. Also here, I did the Thursday, Saturday night bridge for 3.5 years. I've been on the finance committee for 3 terms. I'm on the HOA, I was on the ad hoc committee for company selection of first services. And I'm also on the Taylor Morrison negotiation committee, which we haven't met yet. I haven't met yet. But one thing I want to tell you about negotiating. While working for IBM's National Marketing Division, I completed a course at the Cambridge Institute for negotiation. And in the old days, negotiation was, I win, you lose. But this was better. You learn the needs and wants of both parties, of all parties. You devise a solution that meets as many of those needs as possible, and then you have a happier ending. You asked me to tell you why me. I care deeply. I truly want Sandoval to continue to be a great place to be. And when I accept the responsibility, I don't stop until it's done. Thank you.
Marilyn?
It's going to be tough to follow John. When my husband retired from the Army in 1982, after 27 years of service, we moved to Cape Coral. We've lived in 3 different homes in Cape Coral, but Sandoval is the best. I've lived in 6 states and 2 foreign countries. Again, John beats me there. But I love it here. It is so much nicer living on a lake than it is living on a canal. And I just, as I say, this is my home, and this is where I'm going to end up being, the Lord willing. I served on the HOA board in 2018 and 2019 and served on the Clubhouse Expansion Committee. And it was interesting. It was challenging. We didn't get as far as we would have liked to have gotten, but I thought we did a lot. And I served on the city council a total of 7 years. I did not run for re-election last year because I wanted to free up some of my time. 15 to 20 hours a week is what city council required. And so now I do have more time to serve. I have served on the finance committee. When it came time a few months ago to volunteer for a committee, my husband discovered he had throat cancer, which was 7 weeks of chemo and radiation. And so consequently, I picked up a lot of the things he was doing because he just didn't have the strength to continue. The good news is he finishes next week, and the doctor told him on Tuesday that the cancer is gone. So consequently, we're celebrating. And as a matter of fact, my son arrived this evening at 6:30 at RSW to spend 2 weeks with us. And my husband went to pick him up. Normally I go, but I thought it was important to be here. And so I appreciate your consideration for this appointment. Thank you.
Okay, we have 2 excellent candidates. I will accept nominations from the floor to nominate either or if there are any other nominations that any other board member would have.
I'll nominate Marilyn Stout.
Ron has nominated Marilyn. We have a second. Kathy seconded.
She seconded. You'd have to repeat it.
I nominate John.
John's been nominated.
I'll second.
We have a second by Ron. Are there any other nominations on the board? Are there any other nominations on the board?
Did anyone else submit their name?
No one else submitted their name. With that, I'll move the nominations to be closed. And we'll go to ballot.
There's paper up there. Melanie,
And Kathy was going to vote. Kathy's vote.
did she send?
Is Lori still on?
She said she'd be on it off. So.
Should I text it to the general manager?
Yeah, here's what I would prefer. I'd prefer you to text it to the GM and Jim Swigert. Would you please come up and just view what Kathy's text, just to validate?
Verify. Kathy's gonna text me if you want to verify.
She'd have to send that to, I don't think Lori can vote because she hasn't been present during the meeting, correct?
Correct.
No.
She has to be present
She
during
has
the
to be
meeting.
present or online and present.
Okay. So she can.
I'm gonna jot it down. I'm gonna write it down, but you'll see. Okay, can I grab this too? First one is Marilyn Stout. Second one is Marilyn Stout. Third is Marilyn Stout. Fourth, John Elkins. And then last, Marilyn Stout. So we have 4 to 1. Thank you, Steve. 4 to 1, Marilyn Stout.
Congratulations, Marilyn.
Thank you.
John, thank you very much for your interest.
Thank you, John.
In the position as well.
Thank you, John.
Do we want to prepare to talk about Jim Swigert's
Jim and I spoke, and due to time, I just wanted to get it in front of the board. The Special Projects Committee, Jim Swigert, would like the board to see the information provided, give an opinion back to him. This can or cannot be done during the meeting. So essentially, I'm not sure if everyone had time to read it, but it's a comparison of the streetlights that the live oak trees have encroached upon and there's some math in there and suggestion, I don't know if this is something that, how the board wants to.
I don't think everybody's had a chance to review this information, have we?
Well, I'm glad you brought it up because, frankly, it's an issue that some residents have raised to me, specifically the lighting near the crosswalks. And I think that ties into this nicely. I'm not sure what committee would handle this, but I think Jim should be involved in the evaluation. We are having all the lines repainted and all, but we want to make sure that all the steps that we can take to ensure safety, especially when you're walking by Somerville, very important to make sure that lighting is appropriate. So I think this ties in well.
What committee would this fall under?
Safety.
Risk management.
Risk management.
Risk management, okay. Why don't we ask risk management to review this and come back with a recommendation to the board? It's very helpful information, Jim, and we appreciate it. Street lighting. Street lighting. Okay.
Did you hear that, Jim, that they're going to appoint the risk management committee along with yourself?
That's okay.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
So you'll work with risk management?
There's pluses and minuses.
They're going to, so we'll connect you with risk management, get that information to them. Absolutely.
Thank you. Moving on to towing policy.
Okay.
Just as a quick overview, we've been getting extreme amount of complaints about overnight parking again, boats, campers, vehicles, et cetera, on several of our streets within Sandoval, and we're going to make some get much stricter enforcement moving forward. Starting next Friday, changing security's hours. Security's hours are currently 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. We're changing their hours to 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. And their focus from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. is to be looking for cars parked on the street. Cars parked on the street with the policy, we're still working through the warning process, which we'll get out a communication next week. But we're going to pretty much go to a zero tolerance policy on vehicles parked on the street, and they will be towed. We have a contract with a towing company, and they will be towed. For cars that are parked in front yards, side yards, grassy areas, blocking fire hydrants, things of that, they will be dealt with through code enforcement. We won't be towing for those violations, but they will be dealt with through code enforcement. So we're hoping that by stepping up enforcement of this, we can eliminate, I think everybody's kind of figured nobody's going to do anything. There's nobody here to check. So, some of the residents, unfortunately, are parking wherever they want to park, whenever they want to park. So, again, this is not designed to be a punitive measure against residents. It's designed as a safety feature, keep our roads clear, and keep Sandoval beautiful as the way it's intended to be. Are there any questions from the board on?
My only question is about the blocking of the fire hydrants. That wouldn't be a towable?
It would, well, if it happens at night, it's towable. During the day, if somebody's blocking a fire hydrant, we'd want to go out and have enforcement. Okay. Kelsey go out and tell them you have to move the vehicle. And if you can't find who the vehicle is, yes, of course we would. Okay. The fire department would want us to tow in that circumstance. That's a pure safety hazard. Thanks for bringing that up.
What I would add also is I think we should keep an eye on the impact on our common areas. In the past, residents who didn't want to park on the street often parked on our completely parked on common area grass to the detriment of the grass. Then the community has to go and pay to repair the grass. There's ruts.
Right.
And it's often a lot more than a $100 fine, frankly. If that becomes an issue, I would ask that this board immediately take up that provision and consider adding that to the towing section.
Are you saying not parking up on it at all whatsoever, or are you saying just during the hours that you can't park in the street parking?
All the time. Like they go fishing, they just pull their car up
Exactly
on the bank.
right.
Yeah, is that something that the board wants to add now?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And in terms of security, I take it we're going to be extending security's hours to make sure that they're able to effectively enforce the towing product.
Because we got the pool situation under control, we're moving security's hours.
Okay.
Our core security from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Okay.
I would prefer, if we are going to tow, that the security officer's on site during the tow, so it's not a confrontation between the tow truck driver and a resident. Because at some point, it will get to that.
And have we worked out all the details with Somerville in terms of what their expectations are?
Yes.
Okay.
Somerville's rules will apply to their, they don't have a parking on the street problem, per se.
But they'll check the sticker for the parking lot area.
In their parking lot, check the stickers, right?
Right. And then they'll note any violations.
Right, we'll report violations to them, but authorization to tow will need to come from Somerville.
Right, if it's in their driveway.
If it's in their driveway, it's in their jurisdiction.
Correct.
Any questions? And I don't think there's been a horrendous problem in Somerville, has there? with parking?
Not at all.
Okay. So I would make a motion with the amendments that we made here, that we adopt this policy. Not even sure we need a motion, but make a motion that we adopt this policy and begin this process starting a week from Friday.
I second.
Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to security measures at Calypso Park and the pedestrian gate. I'll make a few comments on this. As many of you are familiar with, in the last month or so, we seem to have a ever-increasing problem of young adults swimming in the Calypso Lake, diving off the pier, vandalism issues at the tiki huts, disrespectful to residents who are out walking their dogs or just out for a leisurely walk. And it appears that it's been escalating, and to the point where the pedestrian gate that we repaired wasn't up 8 hours and it was ripped down. But total vandalism. We've had the police called. I talked at length with Chief Sizemore on this, and if you're out walking and you have a youth that's not, as you see them doing something wrong, call the non-emergency number to CCPD. And as he informed us, if it's a slow day, they may have a car there in 5 minutes, but they triage calls. So if it's a busy day, it could be 2 hours. So don't expect law enforcement to be able to respond at a moment's notice. However, contrary to popular belief, if you see anybody destroying property, adult or youth, on public property, you can take a picture in public property. You can take a picture, and we could turn that picture over to the police, whatever, to see if they can help identify whoever the perpetrators are. Many of the youths that are committing these acts of vandalism are not Sandoval residents. They're either getting in as through friends of Sandoval residents, or they're just trespassing. And this is what we're trying to eliminate. So I've asked Casey to step up enforcement. So starting Friday, we had an extra guard at the pool. We're moving that guard from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. to Calypso Park just to patrol and stay in the area at Calypso Park. And also remember, I'm getting complaints, security doesn't do anything. I spent my entire career owning a security company and managing security officers. Security officers have no more authority than you or I. They're there to observe and report. So they're not there to grab somebody, to try to make an apprehension, to chase use. They're there to take notes, take pictures, do what they can to try to identify the kids. But in many cases, they're getting as abused as our residents are getting abused. So we're hoping that their mere presence at Calypso Park, and then we'll do random enforcement after this couple weeks, that we won't advertise when or when not they're going to be there. And we're hoping that the children will get the message and quit the vandalism process in the park. Anybody else have any other additional suggestions on the board?
I saw security there the other night. He was walking around and he went over to them and then they all started to leave. It's bad over there. They were, 3 of them stayed in the pool over there overnight, shut the lights so nobody could see them in there, and destroyed things. They were not from here.
There have also been some complaints about adults allowing dogs to run loose in Calypso, which is very stressful. If you got your own small dog and you're walking, and then this dog comes running up, it's a bit stressful. So hopefully they'll be looking at that issue too, especially when there's 2 dog parks right there.
Right.
Okay. Solicitation of any additional agenda items? With none, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Ron?
I'll allow Anita.
Anita? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. It's a pretty quick one. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and attention, and we hope you found this information.
Thank you, John, too. You've been a welcome member, too. I do appreciate it.
There's no open comments.
You want to yell at us, Rick? Okay.
Rick has a lot of